Hello, everyone. I would like to wish you a warm welcome to the first episode of Wemedoo Talks Insights from Industry Leaders. In this episode, we will have Wemedoo's Director of Clinical Data Operations, Urosh Vilimanovich, who will share his insights and experience from the industry. To begin with the personal background of our director, Urosh, you have over 20 years of research experience in both academic and corporate sectors across Europe and Canada. Could you please share with us how have these experiences shaped your professional journey and what has actually inspired you to bring your expertise to Wemedoo?
Thank you. My professional journey. Well, my my entire life has been in research, and research is what I have always wanted to do. Starting off in academic and translational research with a PhD in neuro-oncology and neuroimmunology, doing glioblastoma research and then leukemia research. And after a number of years, even with a couple of startups of my own, uh, I have always wanted to get into clinical research because, in my opinion, it is the pinnacle of medical research as we are developing therapies for patients that are truly in need. And getting as close as possible to that was always my goal. Um, in my startups, all my startups have been somehow, let's say, peripherally involved in technology and definitely in health. Not necessarily health tech, like somebody may assume, but throughout that, I've met very interesting people and inspiring people who I've learned a lot from. And then when the opportunity to transition into clinical research came, I, grabbed it with both hands, and I have not looked back. It's been a intense, wild, and highly rewarding journey.
I guess that everyone in the industry that is on a higher position could tell the same. Seems like you have been doing a nice work. As in 2024, you and your team have received recognition for team excellence in the management of clinical data. Could you share what this award specifically means to you, and especially as you're returning as a main sponsor at the ACDM conference 2025 in Prague?
That actually came as a surprise. We're a small team, and we everything that we've done, we've basically done ourselves. We've done it in the way that we think it should be done, not because that we've come from at Wemedoo. Like, I mean, in general, we are a small team, and we've all come from, let's say, some kind of academic background, some research backgrounds. Um, and we've basically done things in the way that we think they should be done, not in the way that, let's say, some industry history or um, methods by which somebody else has taught us. So, like, I mean, we had a fresh perspective, I guess. I mean, that's what we've been told now. Um, and it was, and taking into account that it was actually clients that nominated us, and that the board of the ACDM, I guess, think who we have to thank, recognized it. It was a validation that our approach and our methods, and especially our attention to the customer, is really something that has been appreciated, not only by our clients, but I guess the industry as well. Of course, through that, the processes, the attention to detail, um, and the excellence that the team has shown cannot be understated. So it is a validation and a thank you for everyone in the team and everyone who we've been working with for that amazing achievement.
It is certainly a great acknowledgement of your hard work for sure. Uh, as you lead the clinical data operations at Wemedoo, and taking into consideration all the awards and acknowledgements that you already have, You certainly have a huge experience in all aspects of biometrics, including data management, biostatistics, and medical writing. So, could you potentially share some information about how modern software solutions like Omnia that Wemedoo has developed help to address day-to-day challenges in clinical studies?
Well, I mean, we've developed Omnia, which is a unified clinical research information system, and we've been developing it for many years now. Um, as I said, from our perspective, in the perspective of how we think that things should be done. So what we think is that whether it's clinical data management systems, whether it's an ETMF, whether it's a CTMS, whether it's any of the above, any of the technologies that are used in clinical trials, they should be as easy and intuitive to use as possible. Now, what does that mean? That may mean different things for different people. However, um, for example, single sign-on, I've noticed that there's been talk about single sign-on and that is being adopted more and more by the industry for good reason, that there's been frustration of fragmented systems, having multiple logins into multiple systems. One example is that Umnia was initially created with the intention of it being a unified system with a single sign-on for all your trials, for all modules, for which in our case are virtual modules. They're not actual different software that have been integrated in the background, but they're virtual modules. So just looking at data in a different kind of a way. Um, on the other hand, it is much easier to use a system that is completely what we call it, that doesn't require integration, that is all one system. And I think that some challenges as far as ease of use are also addressed by the fact that when you have one comprehensive system, training is easier. Startup times are faster. Not only that, but our philosophy on top of it, because we have an integrated system, is that we would like to be trying to, and we would like to eliminate as much manual labor and as much manual reconciliation as possible. We would like to, for humans, to do the work that humans are good at, eliminate as much work that humans are not good at. Data reconciliation is, for example, one of those, and leave that to software and machines who are really good at it, if not perfect at it. So we want to reduce frustrating labor. We want to reduce errors. We want to reduce reconciliations, and therefore increase efficiency, increase user satisfaction, increase worker satisfaction, increase all of our satisfaction. Why would you want to do something that is repetitive and in the end error prone?
Fantastic. I guess this is the exact solution that the industry has been looking for years now. So it could be the perfect solution. Now it's clear that the reason why Omni is often referred to as a comprehensive solution for clinical trials is because it's actually comprehensive and all-in-one system. Could you maybe share what set it apart from other systems? And how does it solve the typical pain points in execution of the trials? You have touched based on some of this information already, but in a little bit more detail could be useful for our audience.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it definitely does. I have already, I guess, touched upon it. But when you have a unified system, when you have that covers, let's say, a lot of the functionalities that are required in clinical trials, whether that's EDC, whether that's RTSM, whether that's ETMF, um, CTMS in a way becomes an emergent property of that. And when you have a system that is, you can run multiple trials on at the same time with one login that detects your user roles in every single trial and automatically gives you access to exactly what you need and how you need to do it. Um, that makes life a lot easier. Now, on top of it, uh, real-time access to data is a pain point in clinical trials, and there's entire industries, I mean, sub-industries inside the clinical trial space that have been created on real-time access to data and access to analytics, especially with GCP R3 and RBQM now. However, if you have a system, for example, like ours, which has all the data and all the metadata inherently in one place, your reporting capabilities and your analytics capabilities all of a sudden become, I hesitate to say, nearly infinite. Because if you have all the data and all the metadata across all your trials, across all the, let's say, the different types of electronic data capture documents, whether those are ECRFs, whether those are SA reports, whether those are protocol deviation logs or monitoring visit reports or whatnot, your RTSM, the type of real-time reporting, real-time analytics you can do is mind-boggling, especially if you have statistical software layered on top of it, which we do. So that gives the industry, let's say, a toolkit that thus far I think everybody has been looking for. As an example, even we had a couple. I mean, we have clients wanting, let's say, data management reports. Now, can you deliver a data management report once a month? And when they see that we don't have to do that, where one can actually just simply create it in the system, and I like to joke around with them. People that know me, I like to joke around and say, "Well, if you have insomnia, you can't sleep. You're really worried about your child, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, you want to see what's going on. You click a couple of buttons, and you get the real time status on most anything that you on what's anything that you're looking for as a graphical representation in the way that's been agreed on in advance. So these are the type of pain points that we can very easily address that are much, much, much more difficult for others and require integration or require, let's say, multiple actors to uh, have that same result.
That is indeed for sure. That's something that the sponsors and the industry in general is looking forward to see, and is actually already available to them. Uh, having touched up on this topic, what would you say that it is considered the most critical challenge from data management and biometrics point of view in the trials, and how does Omnia specifically addresses this kind of challenges? Apart from, of course, the reporting limitations that you have already touched upon.
Um, from our perspective, like, I mean, the industry is multifaceted, and everybody has their own challenges, um, and we are addressing let's say, a specific set of challenges that we're trying to do is we are trying to be industry leaders in it, and I think we're succeeding in that. Um, the challenges are, let's say, data standardization and data flow. So we've developed inside of Umnia, let's say, a standardization of data that I haven't seen in other systems. And talking to people, I like to do demonstrations of the system myself. Quite a few of them, just so I can get engaged in the reactions of people, just so I can see what they're looking at, what their eyes look like when certain features are being shown. Um, and what I think that through that, the pain points that I've seen are truly data standardization. I'll give you one example. We fully integrated the CDISC metadata browser into our system, which allows us or anybody else to completely standardize their data from CDASH to SDTM and down afterwards into ADAM and statistical deliverables. Now, if you have a system that is inherently, let's say, standardized in that type of a fashion, it becomes easy for processes within what's called downstream processes to be standardized and made much more efficient. That means that the entire data flow is easier. What we've also done is make startup times, or let's say design and study build times, extremely quick. That means that you can have a relatively complex study built out in a couple, what should we call it, and go live in a matter of a few weeks if it's really complex, down to first patient in from, let's say, CRF design to first patient in uh, month and a half. And we're
Wow,
talking, and we're talking
this
really
is
complex,
indeed short.
and we're talking the most complex studies, like extremely complex studies. So these are, I mean, let's say on the data management, and let's say the study startup, that's something to be addressed, and that we have addressed. On the back end, we're working on standardization of the export of data listings like SDTM at the click of a button from our system. Uh, that is something that takes a long time. That is something that takes a lot of labor, and it can be difficult for certain entities to create and labor, which one it slows down the process. So there's another aspect that we are actually leading so that these types of things do not slow down studies. What that also means is that your deliverables at the end, as far as statistics, can be much faster.
Yeah, of course, it goes one after another.
Not to mention redundancies in certain, what we'll call it, if you have a built-in RTSM where you can randomize directly inside of, let's say, an ECRF or any other type of document. Um, there are less delays, let's say, in reconciling protocol deviations or whatnot, because every single step of the way we're trying to eliminate data discrepancies and reconciliations.
Perfect. So it really is literally a unified system. This is amazing to hear. Now that you have mentioned all of the benefits of Omnia, could you maybe share a real world example which demonstrates how your team and the software itself have made a difference in a particular clinical trial or in general?
Um, there are a couple of examples. I can even say one of them. Uh, One of them was actually a client who one of the clients who nominated us for ACDM for the award in 2024. So I'll give that example. Um, they had a complex ophthalmology study. It was an extremely large, let's say, CRF, 5,000 questions. Mm, Ophthalmology has its own challenges because of laterality, left eye, right eye, fellow eye. Not to get into too many technical details, but they had a very tight startup time. They needed to be up and running in within 2 months. So we're talking first patient in, which was very challenging because it was a 5,000 question CRF with laterality, and they had all sorts of options uh, inside of it. And so what we did for them is we designed the CRF. So we came up with all the questions with the client across, I think, was what, 12 visits or so, but with an extremely complex visit structure for it. Complexity was added as it was a device and drugs. It was a new device and new drug study. So there was many complexities in it. But we designed that entire CRF. We implemented it, so we built the study out completely, tested it, trained, performed training, and went to go live in first patient in 9 weeks. That was something that when I consulted on another study for them that somebody else could not do and did not end up doing in 9 months. What was interesting upon analyzing it, because the study was built out and the CRS was built out so that all but two questions actually had branching behavior or dynamic behavior with automatic data cleaning, that we reduced the number of manual queries by 66% in comparison to industry average. So you can imagine the amount of savings, literally in money, that financial savings that resulted in from the sponsor. In either case, I do have to say that I we made very good friends during that study,
No doubt.
who are still very good friends.
No doubt at all. So yeah, now that you mentioned this example, it kind of makes sense that the awards are coming in, and I genuinely hope that more will follow, because this is actually amazing what you've been doing. I guess that these kind of activities could not be performed without a good team and people-focused approach, which is something that is often highlighted as of very important in Wemedoo. So, could you give us an insight into Wemedoo's company culture and the values that are shared within employees?
I have to say I love working at Wemedoo. Um, I have not met a team, harder working team, more committed team. I do have to say more intelligent team, who truly enjoys what they do. That's nothing is difficult uh, at all. If the more challenging it is, I think the more motivated they are. The harder it is, the more motivated they are. We love spending time with each other. Every single day starts off with jokes. We have stand up every morning. Every single day starts off with jokes. After about 10 minutes or so, we have to say, okay, guys, we actually do have to get to work. And then we get to serious work, very serious work. But it's a pleasure working with people that are that committed and people that don't wait for something to be served to them, where you can lean on them to, even if they don't know something, they will not stop until they know it perfectly and become experts in it. That type of proactivity on a team-wide level is difficult to find. And the customer centricity in terms of they will not stop until we succeed. And what that means actually is that they will not stop until the customer succeeds. If that means that they don't sleep for 2 days, I've seen them do that. And nobody asked them to do that. Nobody asked me to
I
do
can
that.
imagine.
It just happens that way. No, yeah, I'm being on purpose a little bit ridiculous right now, but it's not a problem for any of us to do anything that we need to ensure success for the customers, and that makes for a extremely nice camaraderie. And we also like spending time with each other, which is the most important part.
Of course.
They'll always be honest with each other. They'll always be honest with uh, the client, and that's so important.
I fully agree, and I guess that it's also visible for the people outside of the organization, that the team could not be so well aligned and delivering those highly demanding tasks in time without the good cooperation. So that's for sure visible,
And with a smile with a smile on our faces.
which is the most important thing for sure. Uh, yeah. Coming to the end of the interview, I would just finally like to ask you a question about your visions and future plans. Specifically, what are your organization goals, but also the personal goals for the coming years? And which developments and trends do you anticipate, both for Omnia and for clinical data management overall? So it is kind of a complex question. Maybe we can split it in two, but just some of the visions
Let's
of
see what
yours.
I'll actually answer out of all that. Uh, uh, I mean, for let's say our software and our company, and let's say the industry in general, we want to push forth with standardization and unification. We want to push for as much automation as possible. Mm, we don't we don't want people to be doing boring, repetitive jobs. I said that at the beginning. I'm coming from myself. couldn't imagine myself doing a repetitive job that I know is going to be error prone. So as much automation as possible, as much instant data transfer as possible, whether that is inside of our Umnia system or data transfer and automatic reconciliation with external systems. That I think is extremely important so that uh, we can, as an industry, can handle the increasingly large amount of data that is being generated. Because we've gotten to the point where it is simply impossible for much of that for humans to do. And it's extremely important to have systems like that. Of course, artificial intelligence is going to help. So we're looking at integrating artificial intelligence in a manner that helps people. So it's really important to, in our industry, it's the GPX industry, to carefully choose how to integrate artificial intelligence. Um, so where necessary, have humans in the loop, of course, and make their lives as easy as possible. Um, where it's not, to have certain processes fully automated, definitely. That's where I see us going, and I see a tighter and tighter integration with external systems. So looking at bidirectional, let's say, communication with external system with devices. That's actually something we're actively exploring right now, is bidirectional communication. So let's say having notifications on external devices, for example, imagine scales or whatnot, or even more complex electronic healthcare records, integration with electronic healthcare records in data transfer, um, basically in every step of the way, trying to eliminate reconciliations and eliminate manual labor and getting the patient in the loop. So, automating and integrating complete our e-consent and e-pro, so we can, I think we already, our e-pro is completely integrated. But having as many reports for that as possible and having artificial intelligence suggest, let's say, reports and um, let's say create some, for example. Those are the types of things that we're looking at, or automatically generating CRFs. I think step by step, the industry has to go in that direction. And we are in an extremely good position to do that, because when you have a unified system with all metadata, with all data and metadata in one place, um, with a backbone like we have, I think we're in an extremely good place to lead the industry into the future.
That's for sure, and it can be heard through this interview as well. Thank you for circling up this whole topic and for actually summing up everything that you've said. I can say that this final question actually uh, reflects Wemedoo's goals and the main idea behind the company. Thank you for this pleasant talk today. I would like to invite our audience to stay with us, to follow our channels, and to stay tuned for the another episode of Wemedoo Talks. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
You too.